Hey everyone, Brian Travilla here with a very venerable DSP logistics owner operator, Chris Gochis. And we are going to talk today about logistics through the eyes of a seasoned veteran and a multiple business owner. So, Chris, tell me something good about what's happening in logistics going on right now.
Something good in logistics right now. Well, we're moving a lot of stuff, right? I think overall logistics is probably a pretty good place to be, especially in America, right? I don't know that we make a lot of things here anymore, but we sure as heck move a lot of things,
Mm,
um, which opens up doors for a lot of business and a lot of revenue.
I love it. Yeah, the business continues to grow. And Chris, you're running multiple businesses and you're working with LRG as well, but you're still in the trenches, excuse me, as an Amazon DSP and I believe a FedEx ISP, correct?
Yeah, totally.
So
Go ahead.
most people can barely run one business, and what's the story behind how you manage all of this?
Well, I think very little sleep. No, I'm just joking. I think there's a few things, right? Like in any business, how you're organized, how your team is, and how your team is structured, right? You're only as good as the people you have around you. And at least in my early days in the restaurant business, when I first got into business, I had to be the boss of everything, right? And it was my word, and I surrounded myself with a lot of yes men, right? And as you start getting some gray hairs and you get some experience, somewhere along the road, you realize that one, you have to trust people. Two, as a good boss, it's your job to create a vision and to create guardrails and a framework, and then let people grow within that framework and those guardrails. Um, the old adage, cat's away, the mice will play. So you have to be present and you have to be part of it. But when you have good people around you, you have good structure, good organization, it allows you to have a pulse on everything while also allowing you to expand and get into other avenues.
Yeah, well said. And having kind of pulling a thread there, what's the part of being a logistics operator that no one sees until you're inside of it?
Well, I think the biggest part, at least within, what I do with Amazon and FedEx, is people management, right? Because we are people dependent, we are people heavy, right? You at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for your business, what makes you a good partner to Amazon, right? What makes you a good partner to FedEx, but you also have to go in with an understanding that everybody in the world's most important person is themselves, right? And that's what your employees care about, is themselves. So how do you make it beneficial, a good work environment, a beneficial work environment where it brings value to the person, to where they care about what they're doing and how they're doing it. And I think the big miss, right? This is what really got me involved in LRG, was that it becomes so time intensive and all of your time is spent, managing your people and your operation, your day to day, that it doesn't leave you a ton of time, to go out there and say, hey, could I find a better insurance vendor? Is there a solution for, my wireless support? Is there any technology that would save me time or energy or produce better results for myself, right? And that's what led to me finding something like LRG, and honestly just getting so involved in it.
Yeah, interesting. A lot of times, I think ISP, DSPs, logistics operators use what they're given, right?
Yeah, you're
I
you're
mean,
totally right.
you're like, I have cell phones, so I guess I'm good, right? I have cell phones, but there could be a better value out there, could be a better carrier, right?
Yeah, there's a million things, right? Like, I have cell phones. I need more cell phones for peak. Oh, I better go buy 35 more cell phones. Oh, peak is over. Did I disconnect those phones, or am I still paying for them? Oh my God, there's a company that will actually rent me phones during peak. That's less money, and I don't have to worry about the fact that I didn't shut off the cell phones I used during peak and paid 2 additional months of revenue, or that I don't have to find that quick screen fix place that charges me $50 because I could just mail them all in and they're going to send me loaner phones while they do it. You know, all the different ways that insurance works, the different ways that health insurance works, where are their tax benefits? Look, Amazon and FedEx are two very different worlds, and I love them both for what they are. And I feel very appreciative to be involved in both. Um, but look, at Amazon, we don't really own a lot of things, right? Like we don't have depreciable assets. We have a huge tax liability at the end of every year, right? These are real concerning things, especially for, I talk to DSPs all the time that are in it, come from a corporate background or never really were in business for themselves, and these things slap them in the face at the end of the year because they're so involved in getting up and running and so involved in being a good DSP and following the rules that all of a sudden tax time comes and they're like, oh my God,
Mm.
right? And look, over the years, as both FedEx and Amazon, the standards get tougher, right? The metrics get tougher, then the margins get a little bit more narrow. The reality is we joke. I mean, we've known each other for years, right? And I used to tell you, like, Amazon's one of those where, they put the food on your table, right? It's your job to keep as much of that food for yourself as possible, and that's how you make a living. And at the end of the day, it's a nickel and dime business, because anywhere that we could get a premium service that, we're not sinking below, what the bar is, right? But it's there or it exceeds that bar, but we could save 4% here, 5% here, 2% there, 8% there. And we have all those buckets. That equates to a real lot of money back in your pocket at the end of the year.
It sure does. And you started to talk a little bit about leadership. I'd love to talk about like the leadership gap. You've seen strong operators and you've probably seen one struggling. What separates them?
I think there's a few things, right? I think there's time management. I think there's delegation of, like, responsibilities and authority, right? And I think there's, I look at running a business, no matter what it is, selling widgets, being an Amazon DSP, a restaurant, or whatever it is I always equate it back to sports, right? That's why I think athletes make great leaders. And at over time, you want your team to take on your personality, right? That's the end line goal. And so you're setting that bar. And I think good leaders, what they do is, they give direction and they give purpose to their managers, all the way from top to bottom. Those people know what their purpose is, they know what their goals are, they know what their responsibility is, and they're driven to meet that bar every single time. Where the poor ones and the ones that tend to fall behind, they're kind of running around like their hair's on fire, right? Like, it's a funny thing. I tell guys this all the time, especially newer ones that, are struggling to hire. They go through that lull and they're like, oh, I might have to drop a route today. I better get on the truck and drive that route. And I tell them, before you jump in that truck and run that route, let me ask you a question. If you go run that route, that one route today, okay, how many interviews are you not going to be able to do? How many people are you not going to be able to hire? I go, what you're going to do is, today it's going to be one route you're short. Tomorrow it's going to be two. The next day it's going to be five,
Hmm.
right? What you need to do is lock in, have a purpose, have a goal, have a direction, get yourself to where you need to be, right? And then you could finite. And so, like, that was a big thing. I think number one, you have to understand your business. You have to do everything. When I started as a DSP, I did every interview, I did routes, I did my payroll. I did. And then once I was an expert at it and I understood it really well, I knew what kind of person I needed to look for to insert into those areas, what I wanted out of that person. Right. And for me personally, it was like, okay, what do I not love delegating? Or what do I not love doing? Or what am I not really good at? Is there somebody
Hmm.
there that can do this better than I can? Right. And that's how I would find my managers. It wasn't so I didn't have to work weekends, or I didn't have to work on this day, or I didn't have to work on that day. I think that's how you lose in this. I think you win by being real about what either you don't love doing or you're not great at doing, and seeing if you could find somebody better than you, because that's going to elevate the whole team, right? And
Got
I
it.
tell that to my
Yeah.
managers every day, right? I'm sure you heard it all the time. I mean, you're one of the best leaders I know. I've come to you for advice a million times on things, but it's like you're anybody that you are above can affect you and could hurt you more than you could hurt them, right? Because at the end of the day, if they don't do the job, what are they going to do? They're going to go get another job and they're going to leave you with the pile of, pardon the French, dog shit that's been created, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you want to clean up the mess or you want to keep the thing moving in the right direction?
Well, it brings me, your story on running that route brings me back to my days in retail, and I'm going to wind the clock back. Um, I remember I was a store manager in training for Circuit City in 2001. So this puts some years on me. And Circuit City back in the day had a rigorous training program, and you had to go to Virginia, their corporate office, to a fake store where they had fake customers, actors, and you had to go like manage the sales floor. And coming from, I worked with Montgomery Ward, that puts me even older. I knew what I was doing. I thought I was great. And there was my coach next to me, and I had to run the sales floor because back in the day, TVs were five, six, $7,000. So these were big tickets you're generating out of a store. And I remember there was a customer that wasn't getting helped by a sales associate, and naturally, right, I went right over there to say, "Hey, folks, welcome," blah 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 blah. And they said, "Well, you did a great job with customer service, so thank you. And you absolutely failed as a floor manager." And I was like, "What? I took care of them." And they said that one customer you helped and did a good job, four others walked in and didn't get helped. So you have to keep, working the floor at a higher level. They used to call it Teflon leadership, where nothing sticks to you. So that owner that hops in the truck, they're doing the right thing in that moment. But to your story, they are losing that interview. And I really liked how you said from one, I'll just fix it today, one, but then tomorrow's two, and then it'll be five. One person can't fix five, and now you have a big roaring fire. So that was a really cool and just story from my retail days. But let's jump into LRG. You're working with LRG now on a lot of different stuff, and what patterns are you seeing across DSPs, ISPs, and logistics operators?
I think, we're inundated day to day, right? We're spammed with 100 emails. We get 400 phone calls. Sometimes we don't even know if we're with the right vendor, the best vendor. And, it's a funny thing because, I'm fortunate. I like to talk. I make buddies, I make friends. It's just my
Mhm.
personality, right? But I think, for the most part, every ISP and DSP faces the same challenges day to day, but sometimes they feel like they're kind of isolated in their own little world, right? Like maybe like they're the only ones that are having a hiring issue,
Mhm.
or they're the only ones that have all these accents or don't know what to do, or you know what, man, I just got that, letter or that phone call from FedEx talking about, my safety, or I just got that cap from Amazon. And you want to know something? 2,000 other people are in the exact same boat you're in, right? And sometimes it's great to just have that resource, that network of people that are in the same boat as you are, right? I mean, my involvement grew in TeleRG because of that. I was looking for that other connection. Can I bounce ideas off of other people? Say, well, how does somebody else handle this?
Mhm.
To kind of get my juices flowing to see if, hey, am I doing it the right way or is there a better way? And then all of a sudden, I start seeing it, some of the things that they offer, right? Like, a big thing for me was their payroll platform through Uzio. Now I saw they were a preferred vendor, right, with Amazon, but like, and I'd gotten some spam messages, but the reality is, how much time do you really have in a day, right, to vet all these other things and see where you could cut costs when you have every other little thing that you have to worry about? The difference was I hop on one call with LRG, let them know that I'm a member. I'm on the phone with, an executive from the company, answering questions, showing me demos, letting me know how it works, right? And so I I got a high level overview of what I was missing out on and the cost savings I would get by being involved with a different vendor.
Hmm.
And then I look at the tech support side, and on God, I must have received 20 emails over the last year from these guys. I just thought they were a cell phone vendor, right? With like some other whatever. And then, they really get into detail about what they're doing and the offering. Like these guys are saving me $8,000 a year, right, on
Just on
my
self.
on my mobile plan, right? And not to mention what I'm saving by renting during peak opposed to purchasing more plans that sure my cell phone provider is happy to give me for free if I sign a 2-year service agreement, right? um and so it started becoming apparent, right? Like so many other DSPs, I don't have some huge organization people in that. Like LRG does a really good job of knowing what I need, right? Knowing what's important to logistics carriers, right? Because they all were logistics carriers or still are logistics carriers. But then they go out and they vet these people, right? And now you could get real answers and it's short term. And instead of me having to utilize my time to go out and find a carrier, find a tech support, find a mobile collision company that will come on site and fix some of my work, and then the fact that there's a discount associated with it, it's almost like your virtual vetting assistant that, hey man, like I should start looking at some of these things. All right, I'll just go to the LRG website, see what's up, and click connect on some of these guys, give them my information. So in a matter of like 45 minutes to an hour of my time, which everybody has, I could reach out to 8 different vendors in 4 different segments, and then they're going to send something back to me, and I'm looking at them like, okay, this is cheaper than what I have. This is cheaper than what I have. Not, I'm good here. This,
Hmm.
you know, and then see if there's any other holes, and it's done. To me, that's invaluable.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think oftentimes, in my experience, I've seen again people get what they get, and they just that they don't question it. They may not like a service from a vendor or the way their insurance works or how they interact. But to your point, there's tons of options out there, and just because you're paying what you're paying now doesn't mean you have to pay that forever. You might even get a better level of service at a better rate. That can happen.
100% all
Yeah,
day. It
yeah,
has, and it's the truth, right? Like, look, we're really fortunate that Amazon provides vendors for us. They put them out there. Like, we know there's a go-to. But again, like back to the adage of they put the food on your table. It's our job to keep as much of it
yep,
as we can. What are we doing to draw down? I mean, think about just a simple insurance cost, right? The average DSP is spending $1 million a year in insurance. You know what a 10% savings gets you?
I do.
$100,000 back in your pocket.
Yeah, I do. It's a and you can reinvest that into so many ways. Well, let's
Totally.
let's jump back to you. I wanna, again, 3 restaurants, DSP with Amazon, ISP with FedEx. I'm sure you run probably a jazz band at night somewhere because
Yeah.
you're that kind of guy.
You're the lead singer, Brian.
Murph and the Murph Tones.
There you
Uh,
go.
so you have all this experience and you're successful in all of it. So I want to ask you the flip side. What almost broke you in all of this? Give us one of the times it was the toughest.
Oh man. I it's hard to just pick one, right? I think maybe the biggest one is what you miss out on, right? Like I joke with my wife all the time. Like my wife and I started dating in college, married in our 20s, and we laugh all the time about how we gave up so much of our 20s and our 30s, to chase ambition and business and everything else, right? And net when I look back at it now, like I'm really happy that I made that move, right? I'm in my 40s, I'm very debt free, right? My kids are there, and I get to sit back and enjoy my kids during the years that it matters the most, right? But I think just the sheer, amount of stress that's on you to succeed, to win.
Mhm.
Like, what's the backup plan if you don't? I can't go hang out with my buddies from college, or I can't make it to that, high school get together. I don't get to go to the neighborhood parties and this and that because I'm working 7 days a week for X amount of time. And look, in today's world where there's 100 reels and 100 people, people are living by YOLO and this and that, and all those things. I think at the end of the day, right? Like if somebody has that ambition to be an entrepreneur, to go do their own business, like you're gonna get out of it what you put into it, man. Nothing comes easy, nothing gets free. It's not a scratch off lotto ticket that you're gonna win, right? Like, but if you grind and if you work and if you do things the right way, like you're going to win that outcome, right? Like I'm never going to get the years that I worked so hard that maybe I could have made it to another Cub game or, gone to a Bear game. But I'm also never going to be in my older years and be like, man, I really wish I would have given it a shot, right? But
Sure.
I would say just that the sacrifices you make,
Yeah.
to grow
Every
your
day.
businesses.
Yep. I like that a lot. Thank you for sharing that. I know that's a personal one.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna close it out today. And first of all, Chris, thank you so much. Again, Chris Gochis, just a tremendous entrepreneur and leader and human. But I have one last question for you. And if you can give one piece of advice for a DSP who may be struggling, stretched thin, or like maybe going, oh, can I keep going? What would it be? What would you tell them?
I think it's you got to look internally. Like you are lucky to be an Amazon DSP, right? Amazon is growing year over year. The volume is there year over year. Take a deep breath, sit back, look at what's making you bleed, look at what is costing you the most, and focus one area at a time to improve or get better with each one of those things. And you will turn it around really, really, really quick. Because the one great thing about Amazon, right? Like when you're out in that world being an entrepreneur on your own, in your own business, in your own segment, you eat what you kill. You're
Hmm.
constantly hunting. The beauty here is Amazon is a great partner in the way that they provide the volume, what you need to make revenue. Now look at how you are running your operation. Where are you lean? Where are you bloated? Where can you improve? I promise you it's there.
Love it.
And if not, start networking yourself with people, that can give you advice or lead you in the right direction to get there.
Well, LRG could be that very place because it's a bunch of like-minded, like business owners that have been through the slog, and
I couldn't agree more.
and you might be able to not only save money but get some good networking going. I love that.
All day, man. Hey, I'm a lucky one that you called me and asked me to do a podcast with you. So thank you very
Well,
much.
you bet you, and we'll see you on down the road, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks, BT.